Welcome to the Obesity Medicine Podcast with your host, Dr. Rentea, board certified in internal medicine and obesity medicine. Here, we talk about a path to metabolic health, and we have real conversations about chronic weight management and living a full life. Just a reminder, I am a physician, but I'm not your physician. So everything that's on this podcast is for informational purposes, but please go talk to your doctor about what's right for you. There is no medical advice being given on this podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. How is everybody feeling today? It's another Monday. You've made it to another week. Hopefully, if you're listening to this right when it airs, you are having a good start to the week. I have to tell you, the fact that I can walk outside every day, and I did like my track, okay? And I'll be back to the track. They don't have air conditioning, though, in the high school track that I walk in. So it served its purpose over the winter and into the spring, but I cannot do hot and humid with no air walking around a track. And I just love walking outside. Now, I tend to think when I'm walking outside that I'm sort of like the mad professor, like on these walks all the time. But I always thought, oh, no one else is doing a walk because I walk really early in the morning. And then one of these days I did a later walk and I realized, no, everyone's walking. They're just not walking that early. So some of you might be surprised that everyone's not up at 5, 6 o'clock. So anyway, I hope you're having an amazing summer and heading into later in the year. Gosh, time really flies, right? Today, I want to talk about something that we've actually never spoken about on the podcast. And I just think it's time, which is a little bit about how AI can be helpful in your health journey. So some of you might be more or less into using AI based on what your requirements are at job, your age, different things like that. I find some people were really early adopters and we're using it all the time. And then also, let's be real here, AI has improved tremendously in the past 1, 2, 3 years. And frankly, AI has improved so much that I think that nowadays it's actually quite useful, while as before it was just generic junk and wasn't really helpful. So I'm going to talk a little bit about one area that I think is helpful. I actually, in my 30/30 program, I am diving a lot more into this. I have sort of one whole session that I do on it. I have 6 different areas that I think are really helpful, but I'm going to talk about just one today because I don't want to overwhelm all of you on here. And I think this will be helpful enough that majority of you can take this and use it. And I've talked about parts of this on different episodes. So I think that we need to leverage technology to help us and not hurt us. Okay, so what do I mean by that? We have a lot of self-monitoring devices nowadays, whether it be the Apple Watch or Oura Ring, different things like that. And this technology can be super helpful in some cases and super harmful in others. What do I mean by that? Sometimes you use these things and you realize, wow, I'm really not getting great sleep, or it makes you see something that you didn't know, right? Oh my gosh, I'm really not active at all. I thought I was walking all the time. When people come into my clinic, they'll say, oh, I'm walking all the time. And I say, okay, what's the baseline step count? They'll go do that. We'll meet a week later. They're getting 1,000 steps. So sometimes people's perception is very different than what reality is. And so these devices can help give some perspective on that. Now, sometimes it's not helpful if this gets you down. Like you feel like maybe you're someone that is more impulsively drawn to numbers and you can't let it go at night if you don't reach a certain step count. And so you realize like it's becoming a taskmaster. It's really running my life and it's not helpful anymore. So for me, for example, I'm not crazy about getting to 10K steps. Majority of the days I get there, but in zero way am I bothered if some days on the weekends, for example, maybe I only get to 6 or 7. I don't care. I don't even care if it's at 3 or 2. And I'm not someone, if I'm sick, that it's like, I need to make myself do that. Absolutely not. I'm just not run by it. But most days it's a helpful metric for me. I'll give you an example. I actually have the little widget with the step count. It's on my Mac desktop as well as on my watch. And so I can look at my watch and see where my step count is. And I know sort of by lunchtime what benchmark I need to have reached typically for it to get done by the end of the day. And so that's helpful because it helps me pace out the movement. It tells me, you really haven't gotten as much as you thought. Take some time at lunch to walk a little bit. So it helps keep me on track. Okay, now let's talk about other technologies, AI. So this is something that is becoming powerful with helping with a lot of different areas. One area that I see be so incredibly helpful is recipe support based on certain macronutrient goals. Now, before I talk about that, I just want to give a quick disclaimer here, okay? So AI, it's not going to diagnose things. It's not meant to be a registered dietitian, right? It's not meant to be a therapist for you. It's not meant to be all those things. It's meant as a tool, but it doesn't replace you seeing a medical person and actually getting insight on all these things. So these are tools. They're not meant to replace actual medical help, right? And there are lots of different AI tools out there. I personally use ChatGPT, but there's Claude. There's just so many others out there. So whatever AI that you have, the biggest thing with AI is that AI is only as good as what you put into it. So you can't put a super generic prompt like, give me 5 recipes with 30 grams of protein. Okay, but you didn't put anything else in there. So you end up getting these recipes that are maybe super involved, right? Like they have many more ingredients that you would ever want, or they don't include ingredients that you typically have in the house, and it's not helpful at all. So how could you help make AI be a little bit more helpful to you? So you need to have prompts that you put in there. I'm going to give you some examples here, and then I will tell you how I would add even more detail so that what you get out is even more helpful for you. Okay, so here's one example. Give me 5 vegetarian dinner recipes with at least 30 grams of protein and 5 grams of fiber using mostly whole foods. That could be a prompt. That could stand on its own and you could pop it in. Now, what I would put in here that could make it honestly 100 times better. Let me read this again. Give me 5 vegetarian dinner recipes with at least 30 grams of protein and 5 grams of fiber using mostly whole-based foods. Right now I have in the house cottage cheese, tofu, eggs. Make sure to include those. Also give me an idea for one protein that I don't have in the house that would actually be a really high protein source for me to think about so I can try a new recipe. Don't have any of these recipes have more than 5 ingredients. Make sure that they are able to keep in the fridge for a few days or are easily warmed up in the microwave after. Do you see how you start to get really specific? I even put in there for me, for example, don't include any recipes that have pepper in it. I don't enjoy black pepper. We just, as a family, we didn't grow up using it. I detest it. So you put as much as you can in there. And another thing, for example, with vegetarian is actually not enough of a descriptor. So most of the time AI will kick back. Can you tell me more? Are you a lacto-ovo vegetarian? Meaning, do you eat eggs and cheese and stuff like that? Are there any dietary restrictions? So you should throw in there as well. I am not gluten-free. I do eat eggs and dairy, right? And if it has a question, it'll ask you that before giving you ideas, but then it will pop out a bunch of ideas and you can look, is this helpful or not? All right, if you love what's there, great, you go with it. They can usually put it into a PDF for you so you can reference it at the store. They could put it into a shoppable list for you. So that's very common where I will tell it, hey, make a grocery store shopping list for me and break it down by section of the store. For example, dairy, frozen food, stuff like that. So they'll break it down. And then that way, when I'm going around the store, you can do it. You can also ask it to make an Instacart shopping list for you. So it can do these kind of things, right? So a lot of the time you don't even know these things are possible because you haven't been playing around with it. And sometimes it will suggest these things to you and sometimes it won't. So another thing besides a tip being that encouraging you to be really specific, right? Like protein goals, do you have allergies, cook time, right? The more detail, the better. The tip I want to give you is say, hey, what other descriptors could I put in here that would get me an even better, more customized recommendation? And they'll give you what they think would help make it better. Ask it to help you out. Of course, you're not going to know how to do all this if you haven't been doing it routinely. The other thing is you can ask it for a macro breakdown for each recipe. So this is really helpful if we just said 30 grams of protein, 5 fiber, but what if you also want to know the calorie number on it? You also want to know the grams of fat. You can ask it to do all of that for you. All right, next example that I want to give here, you can say create a 7-day high protein meal plan under 1,600 calories per day, include the grocery list. Again, you give all your examples. Another one you could say is, I need quick 15-minute meal ideas that are diabetic friendly and require no oven. Do you see how you can make it really, really specific? You could even put in there, I want recipe ideas that do not require me to chop anything, that do not require me to use the oven. So basically you're asking for fresh prepared ideas, right? So I hope that this episode today gives you some ideas for what you could put into AI and see if it can help you. I think that you really need to play around with it. I'll tell you what I think is super fun. You could even, for example, you could take a nutrition log and say, hey, this is what I've been doing. Here are my stats, Find a blind spot for me. Give me some encouragement about this. And again, this isn't where it's medical, what's coming back at you, but you're just seeing what is it thinking that I'm not catching, right? That's the whole part of AI, is that it's crowdsourcing all of this. It's looking around. It's kind of collectively coming with stuff. All right. Now, this can be super fun. Here is the little moment where we're still a person. So when you get the stuff back, then you need to look through it and you need to decide then, first of all, AI can lie. So they might be saying that these recipes are whatever macronutrient count. You might need to check it. I think it should more give you inspiration and ideas and an area to search on. So I want to give you an example. I actually did this for myself. Actually, I did it within the group. And let me go down here. I'm actually looking at my presentation as I do this that I did within the 30/30 group. And I'm putting this as a bonus call in the September round and after, because I think that this is really one even for future rounds to come that's important to go through. So one of the recipes that it turned out here, it was a dinner idea. It was a ricotta bowl. So it was half a cup of ricotta, 2 scrambled eggs, 1 tablespoon hemp seed, 1 tablespoon olive oil, half a cup of spinach. And the prep was saute it, scramble the eggs, mix everything in a bowl. And it was 30 grams of protein, 6.2 grams of carb, 39 grams of fat. And guys, it hadn't occurred to me to do this ricotta with eggs. Of course, it's amazing. That's basically the base of, if any of you like lasagnas, right? That's what's in the middle of it. There's noodles, red sauce, cheese, and stuff like this. And I just sat there and I thought, of course. But you know what's, and then also there was like a stir fry idea. There were so many good ideas on here, right? And listen, I've made all these things at different times. I don't remember them. You know, like you kind of go in and out of things. So you could even put on there as a prompt, in the past, I really liked this recipe and I liked that recipe. And here's why I like this or that. Give me similar things or things that you think based on this would be applicable to me. So again, the more you put in, the more helpful it is. But whatever you get out, let it be ideas. Double check it with a fact check, right? Do you need to stick it into MyFitnessPal to figure out, is this actually what I think it is? You know, the ingredients might vary, all of that. But you still need to use your brain, but you got ideas and inspiration. All right. I hope that this episode's helpful, gives you something to think about, something to go play with. Let me know if there are any ways that you find, gosh, this has really been the game changer when it comes to my health and using this. I just find that there are so many applications for this. And I think that it can help people to get in a better direction. And why would we not want to use that? So hopefully you can use this in a way that helps you. If you ever have any questions, make sure that you can always write beneath this episode. There's a little fan mail tab. Remember, if you submit something to us, it's anonymous unless you put your name and an email for us to get back to you. Otherwise, you can submit questions or reflections, things like that. And I want to leave you with, if you're loving this podcast, and let's say you're actually getting ideas and you're able to go implement things and all of that, and maybe you're coming back weekly, can you please leave us a review, hopefully a 5-star review? Can you leave us a review wherever you are listening to us? This is incredibly helpful to get the podcast bigger reach so that other people can learn in this way as well. Otherwise, it's really hard to get your podcast to other people. So share it with a friend, leave us a review. I would greatly appreciate that. This is such a labor of love when I get on here and make these episodes. And I'm really always hoping that you're able to learn something that moves your health forward. All right. I hope you have an amazing rest of the week. That marks the end of today's episode. But if you're newer to the podcast, I want to tell you about something that we have, and it's a free podcast roadmap. So this is perfect for any of you that are listening where you want to be directed to very specific episodes. So let's say that you are just starting out and you want to know, what should I do right when I start on the medications? Or you're experiencing certain side effects on the GLP-1s, or you want to know what to do if you're in a plateau, or if emotional eating is taking over, or if hunger levels are high. So we have many different categories of episodes that we've talked about, because there's a lot at this point. So if you want to be able to navigate that very easily, we have it broken down by category and also the episodes that are there, and we hyperlink to everything. So you can just click on it and find the episode, easy peasy. If you want that, you can go to renteaclinic.com/podcast roadmap. We'll have it linked right here underneath the show notes where you're listening, and you can go ahead and get that free resource so that it makes it easy for you to navigate, because I know that it's really hard when someone has an established podcast. I am such a podcast fiend. I'm listening to podcasts all day long. And when I find one that I love, but there's a lot that are out there, I am so lost. So I hope that you enjoy this free podcast roadmap. Again, the link to get to that is going to be renteaclinic.com/podcast roadmap. I hope this is helpful, and let me know if you have any questions.